Right now, somewhere in the African savanna 100,000 years ago, a small band of early humans is asleep on the open ground. No walls, no roof, no weapons in their hands. Around them in the dark are lions, leopards, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats. Animals that hunt at night. Animals that can smell a sleeping body from a kilometer away. And yet, somehow, your ancestors survived this for hundreds of thousands of years. Why didn't the predators eat them? For most of human history, we were not the apex predator. We were food, we were slow, soft, mostly hairless, with weak jaws and small claws. A hyena clan could shred a person in under a minute. A single leopard could carry a body up a tree. And every single night, for 7 straight hours, every human being on Earth was unconscious on the ground. This should not have worked. By any reasonable math, our ancestors should have been wiped out in their sleep. But they weren't. They became us. Which means something biological, behavioral, social was protecting them in the dark. And in the last decade, scientists figured out what it was. Let's start with the obvious answer. Fire. In 2009, primatologist Richard Wrangham published a book called Catching Fire. His argument was that cooking changed everything about human biology. But he also pointed out something else. Fire keeps predators away. Lions avoid open flame. Hyenas back off from glowing coals. A burning camp is a hard target, and this is partly true. Controlled use of fire goes back at least 400,000 years, possibly longer. Campfires were absolutely part of the defense, but fire alone doesn't explain it. Here's the problem. Fires burn down. By 2 a.m., the wood is gone. The coals are dim. The smoke is thin. A determined lion is not afraid of a smoldering log. And before reliable fire control, our ancestors were still sleeping on the ground for hundreds of thousands of years, and they survived. So fire was useful. But fire was not the answer. The real answer came from northern Tanzania. In 2017, anthropologist David Sampson and a team led by Charles Nunn published a study in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B. They went to live with the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer society that still sleeps the way our ancestors slept. On the ground, in the open, in small bands. Often without fire by morning, the team monitored 33 Hadza adults for 20 straight nights. They wore wrist devices that tracked when each person was asleep and when they were awake. Over 220 hours of data, and here's what they found. In all 220 hours, there were only 18 minutes total where every single adult in the group was simultaneously asleep. 18 minutes. Out of more than 13,000 minutes of monitoring, the entire group was only ever fully unconscious for 18 of them, which means for 99.86% of every single night, someone was awake. Nobody was assigned a watch. Nobody was told to take a shift. They just staggered themselves. Naturally, this is called the sentinel hypothesis. And the mechanism is built right into your body. Older adults, people over 50, fall asleep earlier in the evening. They also wake up earlier, often around 3 or 4 a.m. This isn't an accident. This isn't because they're tired. This is a hard-coded sleep pattern. Younger adults, late teens to 20s, have the opposite pattern. They stay up late. They want to sleep until 10 a.m. Their bodies push their sleep window later. Middle-aged adults sit in the middle. Bedtime around 10 p.m. Wake up around 6 a.m. Lay those 3 groups on top of each other across a single night, and something remarkable happens. The grandmother is awake until midnight. The teenager is still awake at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m. The grandmother wakes back up at 4 a.m. And by 5 a.m., the middle-aged dad is already stirring. There is never a moment when the entire band is unconscious. Not because anyone planned it, because evolution wired it that way. This is your circadian system. And scientists call this variation chronotype. Some people are larks, some people are owls. About 50% of that variation is genetic. You inherited it. For decades, sleep doctors treated this like a defect. They said grandparents had early morning awakening. They said teenagers had delayed sleep phase disorder. They prescribed melatonin. They prescribed light therapy. But it isn't a disorder. It's the rotation. In a band of 25 to 30 people, which is roughly the size of a hunter-gatherer group. Having a wide spread of chronotypes guarantees coverage. The deep dark hours from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. are the most dangerous. Predators are most active. Humans are least defended. But in a real band, those hours are covered by overlap. Somebody is always up, pulling a thorn out of their foot, chewing on jerky, stirring the fire, watching. And predators learn this. A camp with constant human activity, even minimal, is not a sleeping prey site. It is an active threat. Lions don't waste energy on uncertain prey. They move on. But the sentinel system wasn't the only defense. Hadza bands also sleep in tight physical clusters. Bodies arranged with feet pointing inward toward the fire. Adults on the outside, children in the middle. Anyone trying to grab a child has to get past 4 sleeping adults first. The location matters too. Bands pick slightly elevated spots. Near trees, they can climb. Downwind of where predators usually pass. The geography of the sleeping site was a calculation, even if it was unconscious. And then there's smell. A camp that has been used for even a few nights smells overwhelmingly of humans, smoke, and food waste. To a predator, that scent signals many of them, altogether, possibly aware. It is a deterrent, even when the camp is asleep. So put it all together. Staggered chronotypes, tight body clustering, elevated sights, smoke, fire when possible, and a group size large enough that even one alert person can warn the rest. The reason predators ignored sleeping ancient humans is that, on average, they were never truly all asleep. We had built a watch system that ran on biology, not assignment. And here's the uncomfortable part. You still have it. Your grandmother who wakes at 4 a.m. isn't broken. Your teenager who can't fall asleep before 1 a.m. isn't lazy. Your own restlessness at 3 a.m., the one your doctor wants to medicate, is a 300,000-year-old job description firing on schedule. Modern life forced everyone onto the same 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. window. We pathologized the rotation. We diagnosed the watch. We medicated the sentinel. But the wiring is still there. We just have nothing to watch for. Your ancestors slept on open ground for 99% of human history. They survived because someone was always awake. That someone is still inside you. The watch never ended. We just stopped knowing what we were watching for.